So, welcome to Bonehead Weekly. I just I looked and you did our friend show yesterday, Barbara. And
Right.
isn't she just too nice for to be in
Oh
this
my
world?
God, she is so cool, and she does so much freaking research that I don't get people all that often that do that much research,
Well,
and
don't worry. We're phoning it in.
Oh
We're
yeah.
we're just phoning it in.
I know, I understand. Look, you're my good friends. I know how this goes.
So so you just did it, and I was watching the clips that she put in, and the highlights, and I was like, why is Mick in his car? And then you're texting me, and this is going to be this is a name drop. So yeah, Mick and I have each other's numbers, and we actually are. I like to think that we're actually friends.
We are actually friends.
And he was texting me, go 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then we log on, and why are you in your car?
Okay, you have to understand. I used to have a really, really nice office. It was all set up. I had that weird metal paneling and
You
all
had the
that.
TV
Yeah, it
in the
was
back.
Right.
cool.
I had all this stuff. But my daughter, uh, who is 36, was studying to become a surgeon in Tel Aviv. And all of a sudden, Tel
Arkansas?
Aviv, Tel Aviv.
Arkansas?
He doesn't know. He doesn't
Yeah,
know. He
oh,
doesn't
you
know
don't know. You
much.
don't know countries. Oh, that's right. That's right. You don't understand countries. Tel Aviv is in a highly disputed part of the world right now,
I have no idea. What do you
Arkansas.
right
and
now?
and
That's
her
big. That shit's been going on since the Old Testament.
oh, it's been probably before that. Come on, let's face it. And and her apartment complex got bombed.
Ooh.
At least she wasn't in it.
What? She was not in it at the time. I think that she lost a cat. That was it.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
uh, and all of a sudden, she had no home, and as it turned out, PTSD and all the rest of that. And so I lost my office because it's now a bedroom.
In all honesty, that is the most like logical reason to lose
I
a
I'm just
bedroom.
I'm just saying. I mean, the weird thing is I never thought that at 36 she would be coming home, but then you know you know what, life has I've had a strange year. Can I just put it that way?
Oh, I have some questions, but keep going.
I've had a weird year. Yeah,
You
yeah,
you have you look fantabulous, by the way. You were telling this story about werewolves and bars, and I was listening to it, and because Barbara and I are friends, she was like, "Well, I'm going to watch all the Bonehead interviews with Mick," and then went on a deep dive of watching all the other interviews with you.
she did. She looked at everything and she kept bringing shit up, and I was like, stuff about interviews that I'd said in interviews, and I was like, "My God, woman, you know more about my interviews than I do. That is for sure."
Oh, she knows more about our show than we do. She's the
Yeah,
one
right.
that, yeah, she's like when she finds something, she just latches onto it. But you were talking about werewolves and bars and people thinking that. But I look at you because we actually haven't seen each other in over a year since you
Yeah,
got a little sick. And you look great. Your hair, there's something about it. It just looks so healthy.
it went so much whiter. Everything, my beard went white. Everything went whiter after the heart attack for some reason.
Which gets me to the before the other two boneheads. I know you've mentioned it in a couple of interviews, and I did not do as much of a deep dive as other people have. I'm sorry. But how many times have you told the story? Because you started doing the podcast rounds, what, about 4 weeks ago? 5 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 4 weeks ago. For
4 weeks
I
ago.
haven't really done I haven't done any interviews in probably about 3 years or so. I mean, I kept running my own show until I had the heart attack. And by the way,
Yeah.
by the way, let me tell you about this heart attack because this was pretty interesting.
That's where I want to go with this because it's a great story.
Well, here's the weird thing: is I've been having troubles with long COVID.
Yeah.
I got COVID 6 times, maybe 7 times, can't tell, and fully vaccinated, and just I've had it has been just 3 years of just constant sickness, and I was in the hospital on Halloween of last year. On fucking Halloween, I am in the hospital. I'm getting checked out. I'm having problems, breathing, which, God, I'd been having problems breathing, like I said, for 3 years. And and all of a sudden my chest felt like it was going to rip out of my lungs, and all this, everything starts to go squiggly and stuff. And I had a massive heart attack on Halloween. And I am not shitting you. You know, I have dozens of friends who are writers, and all of them have said the same thing. Well, we couldn't write that.
Well, I've said it to you when you were telling me about it, when we were talking about it months ago. I said, you're shitting me, right?
Yeah.
And heard from you in a month or two, and it's like, oh, nobody bothered to tell me he almost died.
Yeah, it was yeah, and so I got the full zipper, thing, double bypass, and then John fucking Dugan. 2 months later, John Dugan has to go and try and outdo me, and he has a quadruple bypass.
Really? I can't imagine, from all the years of abuse, and I don't mean physically.
Here's the weird ass thing. I got up the gumption in February to I had hardly even left the house. I still did my Meals on Wheels thing, but basically I kind of work in the administrative anyway now, and so I decided that I would go out to Chad Shepard's thing for about 3 hours because I thought maybe I could handle that, right?
All right.
And he's doing a horror. What was it? He always does great combinations, punk rock and horror, right?
Okay.
And so I got to sit next to the drummer from it'll come to me anyway. So it's me and John Dugan and this guy, and we're sitting in a row, and John Dugan's there, and John Dugan is I keep looking down, and John Dugan is rocking his way through a 12-pack of Rolling Rock, and I could only stay there for about 3 hours because I could barely even stand up. And when I leave, Dugan comes up and goes, "Hey, if you're getting out of here, could you get me another 12-pack of Rolling Rock and bring it back?"
And this is after his heart attack?
This is after his heart attack, 2 months after I had my heart attack, a quadruple bypass, right? And I was like, Dugan, because Dugan's body chemistry has probably completely changed. I mean, he is essentially alcohol based now, I think.
Well, a few years. So for anybody who doesn't know, if they're listening, John Dugan played Grandpa in the original Texas Chainsaw. Everybody knows who Mick Strawn is. Anybody who listens to the show knows who Mick Strawn is. Mick Strawn is one of the most legendary production designers of all time. Street 3 or 4. Check out his book, yada yada yada. Blade, building and looking at dicks during boogie nights, all these famous stories. John Dugan played Grandpa, and that's kind of his biggest claim to fame. I'm not taking anything away. That being said, a few years ago, I've been friends with him on social media for years. A few years ago, he was like, "Yeah, the doctor says I have to quit drinking." Do you remember this?
Right. I remember.
And he said it was no more drink. It's no more drinks with Grandpa or whatever it is.
Right.
It's got to be gummies with Grandpa.
It was a huge. It was. He made it a huge thing,
Yes.
And how long did that last, Joe? Because
I don't know. I'm not close to him like you are.
well,
We're
I
friends.
am. I mean, we're friends, and
Yeah.
you know, he lives only 20 minutes down the road, and I got to give him credit for probably 2 months,
It's
3
really,
months,
that was about it. Yeah, he's
maybe
just
3 months.
legendary for
Yeah.
like a lot of people, but he's legendary for his for consumption.
Right. You know, I mean, and don't get me wrong, boy, John Dugan is the nicest guy in the world. He really is. And he is as politically I am pretty far left politically, and I can't even see John Dugan from where I stand.
No, he's the reason why we don't win elections.
Right. Part of the yeah.
I know, and you all and people who are liberal can get mad at me right now, but he's one of those that knows exactly, and you know exactly what I'm talking. He's the one who's like, oh shit, those people, we can't vote for them.
Yes.
The other ones are
He's
crazy.
I was gonna say, and the other one's David Horton. So there you go.
They just David Thornton. Oh my God, yeah. There's another one. Yeah. Oh God.
You know, there is and the thing is, you know, I'm really far left, but at the same time, you know, yeah, I'm with you on that. But we're not gonna talk politics.
We're not. I just think you brought up a point.
By the way, you're looking so good. You're looking really good.
Who, me?
It's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
you've never known just how great. Well, yeah, you would know about cocaine. Sorry. So I was about to go. If you do just the right amount.
I was gonna say kiss. Yeah, kiss.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they say about cocaine, right? Is cocaine. A guy does a line of cocaine,
Mhm.
and the first thing, and it makes a new man out of him. The problem is the first thing the new man wants to do is another line of cocaine.
I love that long cocaine. Yeah.
You know, Mick, you remind me of, and Joe knows the story. When I was going to college, this guy that I worked with, his words of wisdom as I went to college was, and I quote, now she'll say she won't, but if you chalk a line, any woman will snort it. That was his college advice for me. And I've never forgot. I don't remember what my father told me, what anyone in my family encouraged me about, but I do remember the random guy I worked with who came up to me and his only advice was that. So there you go.
Have I told you that the grip trucks in the 80s,
The 8 foot or the 10 foot.
that no, the 80, the 40 foot,
Yeah.
right? I'm not kidding. What the grips would do is they would come to you at the beginning, to me at the beginning of the show, and they would have me build the secret compartment, and the secret compartment was always exactly the same. I mean, I had a drawing of it that I just go and pull back out of my drawing, and what it is it's a bulkhead that you put at 35 feet on a 40-foot truck, so that you can put and then there's a particular type of rack that holds C-stands that can open. The door can open behind that, right? And there would always and there were companies that couple of glass companies would take a piece of 1/4-inch glass and etch, really deep etch, the name of the film into the glass, and then you would take and the props. Then it was props' job to keep that full. And here's the thing is I remember meeting. I think it was like 2009, and I did this weird thing with that idiot Van Damme, right?
Jean-Claude?
No. Who's the other one? The American. Oh,
Michael Dudikoff?
No, the guy that's the guy that's the sheriff. Steven Seagal. I did a show with Seagal, and I did a couple of their setups, stunt setups on a set,
Yeah.
and there was a grip there that was an old timer, right? And I just was on set one day, and I was trying to explain kind of. Somebody said, "Well, was there any, was there actually a lot of cocaine around, in the '80s?" And I fired off to him. I said, "Hey, Paul, how long is the inside of a 40-foot grip truck?" And he went 35 feet. Oh, and exactly. That's right. That's how much cocaine there was.
So can I ask you a question? Who paid for the cocaine?
Well, the
The
thing is
production.
there was a reason that went to props, because props buys weird and funky shit all the time. And, and usually about $75,000 worth of weird and funky shit. That's, 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 that's one of those things. That's one of those things that will die with me, right? I mean, I'll tell the story, but the thing is me and a bunch of grips and the guys who worked back then, and the weird thing about it is it was particularly driven in the '80s. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's always been drugs in Hollywood, but in the '80s it got chronic because the cost of talent went up so much.
Yeah.
And because of that, what they would do is they would hold the talent. They would hold the talent and basically they would try and make 2 weeks into 1 week with the talent, right? And in order to do that, they would run the crew literally into the ground. I mean, and there was no legal turnaround time. I mean, you could be called back to the set in 6 hours, and that was really common. And the thing is actually it's not a problem for them because they're in their fucking trailers,
Yes,
right?
of course.
I mean, they literally, the combined effort that they put out is like at the most 2 hours a day, right? And
Right.
so you run the crew into the ground, and the crew, as the pay difference gets wider and wider and wider, you're paying them. That extra week is going to cost them $500,000, right? And yet it costs $100,000 for the entire crew to work 20 hours a day, and they'll do it on 6 hour turnarounds because that's what the game was, right?
And you needed the work. You're always going. It's a gig. You always have to go to the next gig. You're always
It's feast or famine. It's feast or famine, and the thing is you just gotta. But and it all ended in 1987, I think. In 1987, they killed off in three different accidents during one summer. They killed off three different crew members to automobile accidents.
and that's what did it.
What?
And that's what did it. You think that's what?
Oh no, absolutely. The insurance companies, the thing is that's a weird statistic. That's a standout statistic that means something is happening and we got to find out why. And the insurance companies went in and went, well, it's a combination of that and you would have rat beer every day, so you'd be, on coca all day and you drink a couple of beers at night to calm down and go out and drive home and especially if you were in home could be anywhere within a 30-mile radius because that's the radius of the working. It's 30-mile circle around Universal Studios.
Yep.
And that's legally you don't have to pay an overnight for that, right? So you had all these people that are driving up pretty close to 30 miles And basically they're just super, super tired and super high, and then accidents happen. Sort of like what happened to my face when I went and tried to trim my beard.
I like it though. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm missing the werewolf part of it, but at the
Well,
same
the werewolf will come back. Trust me.
you
Well,
I'm just
go ahead, Chad.
I was gonna say I was curious. Was one of those three movies The Wraith?
what?
Where one of those accidents happened? Was one of them The Wraith?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it
that's what I
was.
thought. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the other ones was a TV series, and I think the other two were actually TV series.
Okay.
And the thing is it was as soon as the insurance companies clamped down on it, uh, it just sort of slid underground, and everybody's kind of halfway you know
Yeah.
towed the line. I'm it kind of goes with Hollywood was a pretty fucked up place to work.
Yeah.
But it was a lot
I
of
mean,
fun too, right?
oh God, yeah. Well, it was as creative as we could make it. It really was. And the thing is there was always that gnash between creativity, unbridled creativity, and commerce.
Mhm.
You guys talk about it all the time. It's funny because you guys talk about it all the time because you tell the back stories a lot of times about how films are made and who put it together, up in the offices, right?
Yeah.
And it's never a straight story. You know what I'm
No,
saying? I
no,
mean, it is. The thing is just the stories of the background on films is just so fucking interesting. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
the stories that I tell are and the weird thing about it is always seems like the stories that you hear about a lot of the films that I've worked on are just always kind of like the tame, washed through versions of it. And
mm,
then I kind of come in and go, yeah, well, this guy was essentially I just watched him fuck for 16 hours on
mhm.
Boogie Nights, and that kind of thing. So it you guys have a tendency to bring out these little bits and pieces, and if you look at that, that's the way every damn
Yeah.
day was.
And those are the
Yeah,
stories I really love. I don't think I've ever said I haven't watched an interview with a celebrity in years just because
they're just not
it's not
interesting.
interesting. It's the same old shit every
The,
single
the thing is,
time.
is the thing is they don't see interesting shit.
Right. Yeah, they're
They,
just
they they really don't. I mean, they kind of have this this elevated view of somebody who sat in their fucking trailer for 20 hours a day and only came out 1 or 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
right.
So back to what we were talking about, all the different stories behind this and all the different stories of making it. I actually completely forgot what my question was going to be for a half second. I am so sorry. It literally left me as it was coming out of my mouth.
Well,
Well, it's kind of
I call that Tuesday.
yeah. Well, back on the whole thing about, I was amazed
Now I
because,
remember that part, Jeff.
the movie that gets credit for, kind of killing that mood, that whole way of things were done was the Twilight Zone movie in 1983 because of John Landis and his nonsensory about that led to those two people
Right,
dying.
right. Yeah, yeah. The thing you have to understand is in the middle of this chaos, you have a group of professionals that somehow worked in this maelstrom of creativity and
Hmm.
and you have to think about it this way is if you think back to some of the worst things happen. I mean, you have Cherry 2000, and I think Cherry
Hmm.
2000 uh, lost a camera person. You
Steve,
have
by the way, directed by Stephen D. Jaranet, or I can never say his last name correctly, right?
right,
Other guy,
yeah,
same guy directed Miracle Mile.
exactly. You have
That was 87 too, Mick.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a good year for learning your fucking lessons. What it
Hmm.
was, but you have the Crow,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you have Rust, And
Mhm.
and here's the thing that you have to understand is those they're fucking firing shit off every goddamn day all over hell, all over LA. I
Right.
mean, as far as guns and goes like that, and and it is dangerous to work on a film. It used to be very dangerous to work on a
Right.
film. I mean, really, a lot of regulations have clamped down, recently in the 2000s. But you got to think about, you got to think of it this way: if you think that there is this overall thought process that producers kind of think that we in the crew are fairly disposable, because think of it this way: this is a union that just got the 12-hour day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. I kept thinking, I hear things about the union all the time and stuff, and I've been in the union and out of the union, in the union, out of the union, and I never liked them. I'm probably more of a filmmaker than I am a movie
Mhm.
maker. Movies and films to me have like a completely different. Uh, a movie is something that is super structured, built to make built to make big bucks, right? And a film is kind of less structured and more piecemeal, more, hey, we'll go over and help out transportation or something, or that kind of thing. But oh, that's great. Now I forgot where I was going. Joe,
Well, the
see, I
thing
got
is,
it from you, you bastard.
well, you were talking about the union and the six, and you mentioned Rust, and the last time you were on the show, and I don't expect you to remember it. You said something to me that was fascinating, or maybe it was just a conversation. In my head, it was on the show, but it could have been just you and I bullshitting.
Yeah.
But when the thing happened with Baldwin on Rust, you said something to me that fascinated me, and it was like, well, shit, I can't believe it hasn't happened more often.
That's what I'm saying is I can't believe it hasn't happened more often. Things Russ certainly isn't the only one that gets loose about rules and stuff. Uh, there's all kinds of different uh, levels of just barely figuring it out. Uh,
Right.
People and people being tired. The thing is boy, non-union shows these days, they work like 14, 16 hours. And in my career, we always worked 16 to 18 hours, because we're professionals at it. By the way, sleep deprivation does become a way of life after a certain point.
It does
uh,
the other two guys. I know, which leads me to the other thing, and I hate to be. You're talking about the stories and us getting behind the scenes stories, and we always love talking to people behind the scenes. It's one of my favorite things to do because you get all the shit. Because I've said this 100 times, just like you're talking about, they weren't in the trailer all day.
right,
I'm not
exactly.
shitting on actors. I get their
I
job.
don't, I'm not. I'm just talking about they're in a different.
They're
They're
just in their different
it's a
perspective of
different
the world.
it's a different job. It really is. I mean, the jobs that we're doing, I remember telling somebody one time that when I'm a production designer, I'm not actually on set all that often. But when I am, I'm in deep shit most of the time.
Right. Which leads me to back to something you were talking about with creativity. And there's different viewpoints on the 80s. There's people who are like Tarantino who say the 80s are probably the least interesting decade for film. And then there's probably a vast majority of people who say, no, no, no. Clearly there was a lot of sequels and a lot of things, but there was an emphasis on making things so different and so batshit crazy. Don't you think? And you were just talking about that. There was an emphasis of, we came out of the 70s where there was a lot of depressed films,
Right,
where there was
right.
movies about a lot of negativity. It was very much common and in
It
the
was it was the birth. The thing is the
have a
'70s.
negative down ending. If they had
It,
like
it,
Very, Very Crazy
it,
Larry or anything,
exactly.
everybody had
Yeah,
to die. You could not
exactly.
live in the end of it. You could not live.
And that was a reaction. That was a reaction to the
70s.
optimism of the '60s.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's funny how things roll, you know, and then all of
They
a
just
sudden
go back and forth.
and then you get into the 80s, and all of a sudden there was this burst of creativity, which was probably as much cocaine fueled as you can imagine, because how else would they have come up with fucking cop rock?
I don't know. But I appreciate the joke, but that leads me to my question though of do you fit and you actually kind of mostly answered it. It's a reaction to, and I don't think unless you really study movies, and you're absolutely right. I didn't even put the 60s thing in there. And then we had the 50s where it was wholesome and everybody's gonna get it. And you know, Gary Cooper's gonna save the day, right?
Right.
And then counterculture comes in towards the end of the 60s, which is also a reaction when flips it all the way, and then Easy Rider
That's
blows.
but that's a reaction. That's a reaction from the dark 50s, because the 50s was experimenting with, you know, a lot of film noir,
Yeah.
and you know, it just keeps going back and forth, and the thing is then you get into the 90s, and the 90s was very experimental. I mean, we were that I don't know exactly what the 90s were, because the 90s, everything seemed to be jostling to find a through line. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you got at the beginning of the 90s, I was doing Fantastic Four for
Mhm.
Marvel, which was uh, which it was impossible for them to actually get $1 million to put it together, right?
Right.
Right.
Um,
Keep the rights.
to keep the rights and all the rest of that, right? But by the end of, you know, by the time we get to Blade,
Uh-huh.
and Blade was like what, 96,
98, 98.
but
I
we
think it's
did it,
97, 98.
but
Actually, when it came
we would
out.
have done it in
Mhm.
96. So by the time you got to Blade, all of a sudden it had repositioned, you know, Marvel movies had started to reposition itself, and how you like that? I was there at the kind of the end of the cheap Marvel, and I was there also at the beginning of the expensive, more pretty looking Marvel.
You know, I actually hadn't thought about it till you just said it. Because it's funny, you've been on here and you've talked about your hatred of Stephen Norrington, and you've talked about we had you and the director of the Fantastic Four on this show,
Yeah, only
Which
and
I'm sorry, even with First Steps, I still think it's the superior Fantastic Four film.
It's
you know what? I wish somebody would go back in and redo the optical effects. You know,
Yeah,
because I think the rest of it kind of still holds together pretty well.
no
it's
argument here.
it's most faithful to the comics. I mean, as a kid that grew up reading the comics, it is the most
Right.
faithful
Well, you
we
know,
ever got.
the weird thing about that is they when I was doing research, I didn't have anything to research. I mean, all the stuff that was on TV or movies looked like shit. I mean, pure unadulterated shit. So, I mean, the only place that I went to actually research it was the comics, you know.
Mhm.
So I got that look that was kind of actually comic book look, you know.
Yeah,
it's
It's because I just didn't know better.
I still say, and Mick, I'm not kissing your ass. I still say, for '90s, early '90s, one of the best comic book the things there was for us was Mantis. I still
Oh,
hold
and
true to this
Mantis.
trend.
Yep, I love it.
Mantis is, I own the whole series. I've watched it. I've gone through it twice. I just love Mantis, and everything about that was perfect comic book for me
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that time.
I love it. I remember getting threatened uh, multiple times, because we went out and we were trying to like eliminate, the producers didn't want me to have any graffiti anywhere, right? Which is pretty tough in LA. And so what we would so I said what I did was I did this kind of patchwork thing, which was we would go in like with 14 different colors and just do these patchworks over the graffiti, right? So that it would kind of like, you could even get this, you could see the word fuck by how we patched it up. Still every time I see that, I go, oh God, that's not, I remember doing that. So shit.
Oh man.
Back to what we were talking about though, because we've had you on the show so many times, and I was trying to think about different things I wanted to ask you.
See, I don't remember what I've said and what I haven't anymore.
And that's exactly what I was trying to, because I thought about going back through, especially the Oli interview, with the Fantastic Four, because we were one of the, I think we never got credit for it, but we're the first show that ever had the two of you together to talk about it.
That's true. It's true.
And we've never ever. I'm not bemoaning. I mean, we're clearly very lucky. We just never got credit for it, or ever, and people even talked about it later. But when you look back at your career, and this is especially since I'm getting older, I was wondering about you. Is there a few that got away from you that you wish you could have kind of worked on that you didn't get to, that every once in a while, I don't want to say haunts you, because I think you and I may be wrong about this. Well, I may be wrong about this, but everyone has regrets. I have regrets, but I tend to not dwell on them a lot. Does that make sense?
I really just am a forward-looking person. I don't
tend not to dwell on regret as much as some of us.
You know what? I'm really good at just forgetting the past. I have this kind of tendency to completely hate a show by the time I'm done on it. It's funny because people ask me all the time do you have like a couple of critters that you've saved from working on Critters 2, or do you have a mask from Chainsaw, or like a glove from Nightmare on Elm Street? And I say, let me tell you the honest truth. If you asked me the day after I walked off the set, if I had anything at all, I mean, it would only be because somebody had accidentally left it in my car. Because I just hate everything. I mean, I don't know if you, I don't know if you've ever been a painter or something. If you paint or you sculpt or something like that, the thing that you hate the most is the thing that you did yesterday.
No, I that makes perfect sense, because that's, I mean, the if I'm working on something for an academic purpose, academic writing or everything, right, even if it gets published, people be like, oh, well, it's really insightful. And when you wrote, what were you? I don't know. I was told I had to write to keep my job, and I really wanted to keep my job.
And here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is you're completely sucked into it. I mean, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't put out 120, 130, 140%. I'm there when I'm there. But when I walk away, I hate it. I don't want to see it again. It's amazing that I have seen as many of the things that I've done as I have, because there's a lot of things that I haven't seen. I haven't seen Boogie Nights. I haven't seen it's just so many of them, I just
never watched Boogie Nights.
Why?
I mean, other than the day there, which you've told the story to me, but other than the actual huge penis in your face all the day, why haven't you went back to watch that one? I mean, it was so critically acclaimed.
Well, I mean, the thing is I at the time I was working so hard that I had very little time to see movies.
Oh, I get that.
I mean, that was number one. But the thing is then at the end of that, when I calm back down again, kind of, later on in the 2000s, I had this plethora of things to go back and see. And the last things that I want to see are the ones that I worked on.
Right.
I mean, it's funny. I just recently saw Night of the Scarecrow.
Wow.
I mean, with Jeff Burr. I was surprised. That's a much better film than I thought it would be.
And it's hard to find. It's actually a bit. And
there's a terrible, terrible version of it on YouTube. I mean, it's just it's just shitty. But I know of some people who have offered to send me a disc of a copy of, because there was a release, a very limited release of the disc recently.
Yeah, it's one of those. We talked to Jeff, before he passed. He did it too, and it was because of you. I got to give you 100% credit because he didn't do interviews. And
Yeah.
oddly enough, I don't know if you know this, Mick. He's actually, bless him, one of our highest rated interviews we've ever had. As far as if you go on YouTube, as far as our numbers, it's
Oh yeah. No. Well,
and
I
it
can
has to
understand.
be because he didn't do any.
Yeah. No, he really didn't. He just he Jeff.
And the only reason he did that was because of you. And
Jeff
then once we started talking, he was.
oh, he's the most generous guy. And he loves to talk film. I mean, the guy was a walking encyclopedia
Yeah.
of film, and but at the same time, there was another thing, is he really didn't need money. He had family money, and he could just sit back and literally do only he would. I mean, it was very rare that anybody would actually bring him out to a con, you know, and
Which is where I met him the first time accidentally.
right, yeah, because he would show up at a con. He
He,
would just show up at the con.
that's
He
exactly right.
not announced. He wasn't on the bill or
Hmm.
anything like that. I remember a couple of times he showed at cons. I was there just to come see me. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
and we're not talking about you, but that's actually, I think, and you guys that's how we started the interview, was because I met him accidentally at a horror hunt or something. And this is before I started doing what I do, which is,
right,
now we're talking 13, 14 years ago.
right,
Actually almost 20. And he just walked up and started talking to, oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. Richard. He's in Bad Dreams. He's a character actor.
right, yeah,
And he was looking for actors. He was doing a low budget film, and
right.
he went
That's
to the convention. And they started going back and forth. I was like, oh my God, that's Jeff Burr. I
that's
knew
right.
him because of,
I know that guy.
that guy knew his work. He's like, hey, hey. And then he told a joke, and he was trying. Oh, Richard, I can't think. They're both dead now. Anyway, and he said, well, I'm staying at the La Quinta or La Quinta or however you say it. And he goes, you know what that is, right? To Richard, I cannot remember his name. This is so sad. And he said, what? He said
It's
Spanish for near the Denny's.
Richard Lynch.
Richard Lynch. He was talking to Richard Lynch, and he said, "Yeah, La Quinta, it's Spanish for near the Denny's." And he just walked. Jeff Burr told the joke and walked off. And I told him that story, and then he was like, "Yeah," but he invited us to Dalton, down to Georgia, and we just never made it, and it's one of my big regrets. So
Yeah.
anyway, he was delightful, and I didn't mean to get off the topic, but you still didn't answer my question.
There was a question in there.
There was a question. Is there
Okay.
one that you wish you had worked on
Oh, yeah.
that either you turned down or it didn't quite work out, and it's kind of been in your head? Nothing?
Man, I really
And if you get this question a lot, I'm sorry, but I didn't
no.
hear you get it a lot.
You do know that this was all an accident, right?
You working in film?
Yeah, I never intended
Yeah.
to do this. In fact, I was it's I've had so many people that I have, because I've done effects just because I was interested in it, and I would go effects because I could pay some bills that way, right?
Yes.
And I did effects and I did design, and I was first AD, I was directed second unit, all these different things. And the thing is I remember just recently talking to Tom Bellissimo,
Mm-hmm.
and Tom's been writing a book about special effects, and I was going. We were saying. I said, "Well, you've had a really successful career," and I said, "You know what you did is you stuck to one thing. You just did mechanical effects, and you said, I'm gonna be a Mac, and I'm gonna be that, and that's it." And I said, "I'm glad that you really found, success at that." And he goes, "Yeah." He says, I often think to myself that you would be really successful at anything if you could just do one goddamn thing. And I said, yeah, well, that's you said. I say, you know me better than that, and he goes, yeah, no, I definitely do. So,
No, but it's interesting. At least it kept you. I mean, we've had other production designers on here. We've had William Sandell, Bill Sandell. He was a huge production in some big movies beforehand. But you kind of it is all encompassing, right? And you
it
have to
is.
always be. And were you good at the going to parties and getting the work that way?
No, no,
The schmoozing?
I was never a schmoozer. I was
And you have to be to get those big gigs, right?
yeah, to really, the thing is I found my niche in horror, probably because I did have broader experience.
Yeah.
I did a lot of effects. I did a lot of building. I did, a lot of, I had an industrial mind, for how things would go together. And that's that. And to tell you the truth, I just kind of stayed comfortable in it and just kind of stayed in that world. If I had partied a lot, I was kind of like more focused on my own crew and keeping my people, safe and happy
Employed.
and employed. Yes. And the other thing, I mean, part of the reason that it takes a long time to get a production design gig,
Hmm.
because the approval process is long and involved and very political. And so I would wind up with gaps, and I would fill that by building miniatures. I did a lot of miniature. I did like the penguin's lair for the titty nipple of Batman.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, um, I did miniatures with Mark Stetson all the time, back when we actually made miniatures, back.
When you actually built something that you shot on film.
Well, the funny thing about it is miniatures became. They still do miniatures. They just don't do them the way they used to. The way that they do now, and this is fascinating, is the way that they did them for a long time was they built a complete miniature, out of balsa wood and bits and pieces of plastic and shit like that. And um, that was my time. And then after that time, they they got into 3D, not 3D, but they would use a CAD COM machine that
Yeah.
would cut out thin plastic, maybe eighth of an inch thick. And they would just do it layer by layer by layer by layer by layer, and then glue all those layers together to make a miniature.
Hmm.
And now, of course, our miniatures are probably made primarily just in with 3D printers.
Yeah.
But they actually figured out a way to make models by using 2D printers,
Mm.
2D printer stamp out things and stuff. So I mean that had an evolution to it. And I would do that. I would go grip for a while, if I was doing nothing else. Certainly special effects all the time, because I had so many different angles that I could go. I was kind of that guy that made the weird thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. I did a chair for Moesha that walked across the stage and stood up with somebody in it, which is pretty good.
I'm just gonna say, this is what I love about talking with Mick. We've been friends for what, 7 years now?
Yeah, probably
Seven-ish.
Eight,
close
eight. It's eight.
closer to 8. Yeah.
It is
And
eight.
it never fails. Every time we talk, he just blows something by, and I'm just like, my mind didn't even have a chance to process it. The fact that this son of a bitch just said that he worked on Batman Returns, I never knew that. It's one of my favorite movies,
Well, one of you don't get you.
and he's never said anything
I've
about.
I've always I've always only considered it. I've always only considered it a nipple Batman. That's the only thing that I think. Oh, look, it's nipple Batman again.
I don't. But the thing
He
is,
built the
Mick,
penguin's lair.
it's so hard to track you down because there's so much shit that's not credited on IMDb for you.
But that was back in that was the 90s and 80s. I mean, you got to remember that IMDb didn't really come out until like
Right.
I get that, but there's
2000.
so many there's so many nerds like me checking that shit down that you would think of all the different people, of all the different things, and there's so much shit you just didn't get credit for.
Yeah, but back then you just didn't. I mean, it wasn't. It was the thing is back in the day, credit wasn't. There was no outside vehicle to make a producer give somebody credit, right?
Right.
And the way that they put the credits together for the most part, and I'm not kidding about this, is that they would send a PA out of the office to go collect everybody's names and shit. That was literally how they did it, So it was the most haphazard bullshit way of doing things, but it just didn't matter. I remember, yeah, that's why I had to start getting my name on the front of films,
Well,
and
go ahead.
just real quick. I mean, you got to think too. At that time, like I said, most people all they cared about was there's this thing on the screen with people talking,
right?
And this is one of those things about my childhood that I still can't believe I did, because I always cared about what was going on behind the scenes. That's why I love film. And like the only chances you ever got to see people like Mick working is what Entertainment Tonight, and I think HBO started showing behind the scenes in the 80s, which I didn't have cable. I
And
had to go
Charlie
see
Band, full
Right.
Charlie Band.
Right.
full
And
moon.
the weird thing about it is most of those were created. Most of those were fake.
Yeah.
Because listen, in the 2000s, in part of like that little corporation I had that was like doing things that we can't talk about. One of the things that we did is one of the things that we faked behind the scenes interviews. We create a little fake set and have people walking by in the background and stuff, like we were actually there and filming, and and of course it was like months or years later.
Well,
Wow.
so of all the things that you've done, because we haven't even got to directing yet, and you got a new movie out on Tubi.
Solitude. Yep.
The Solitude on Tubi, and we haven't even really got to that. But of all the things, what do you think? This is a really hack cliche question. I'm so sorry. But what do you think you're most proud of? I'm sorry that it's a hack question.
I don't.
It doesn't even have to be a movie. It could just be like
it's bits and pieces. You know what? I liked the experience of Nightmare on Elm Street 4 because of the way that it happened, the way that we didn't have enough time to do visuals, the way that it was all these practical effects,
no screenplay,
and virtually everybody in town. We employed everybody in town. It was my job to kind of hold all these people together, and it was one of those experiences of working with a huge group of people that kind of went on to do great things. I mean, in many ways, I had a great time, but that's as a complete unit, right?
Yeah.
I loved the set, the bits and pieces that I did to pull Mortal Kombat together.
Right.
And I really am proud of the blood sequence at the beginning of Blade. I really think that film And I hate to say this, but I think that
That's
film
the best
kinda,
part of the movie, man.
it
It's
goes
iconic.
downhill from there. It really, that movie to me tapers off and just keeps on going down until you're watching, you're cutting in between really horrible Wesley Snipes fights. I mean that were badly choreographed and were not interestingly done. You had that at the end. You had that, and you were following a fucking CGI drip of blood down a fake CGI piece of marble, and for like 45 minutes or something like that. I didn't really understand the ending of it at all. But I love the blood sequence. It was incredibly hard to do. It was so hard to get right, but I think that I did it right, and that was my big thing, was to get the blood right. And in order to do that was such a huge job.
It
Well, again,
Because
I think that scene is truly iconic. So,
yeah. It's. I was explaining to somebody the other day. I said, we wound up not being able to. The mixture of blood that we had was so thick, and it was so. It had enough elasticity in it, so that the drops would look individual as they landed on people, and then collectively come together. Therefore, we had to make those shower heads, those fake, the
sprinklers,
the sprinkler heads. Those things were about this big around,
Wow.
and we had to mill those ourselves. So because we were pumping 1.5-inch pipe behind those, it wasn't coming out in the 3/4-inch stream that everybody would be familiar with. Because when we did, it just enveloped it was too viscous and it would envelope the head, right? So, and I know that those are all little, futzy little details, but in order to get that right, the one thing drives the other, and the next thing you know, you have 3 enormous gas pumps running in order to get it, and you have 3,500 gallons of that blood that's chlorinated and recycled. So it's fucking nightmare.
That is literally the definition of movie magic.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that is like an extreme example of you look at something and you think, oh, well, that's really cool. I mean, why did they just like put some red water in the piping system or something? You're like, oh god, no.
But one more time, I have always said this. It is, and I know Chad agrees, and I'm not sure about James. I know people love Blade. I prefer the sequel, but the best scene in any Blade movie is the opening of the
is that one. It's the opening,
and that Del Toro, I prefer the sequel, and Del Toro directed the sequel. It's much more fun. That being said, and the villain's better. I still don't understand what Stephen. I don't understand the villain.
Joe hates Stephen Dorff with a passion.
I do not like Stephen Dorff.
I've never liked Stephen Dorff.
I just said that.
He was a dick on set too. Oh, God.
Was he really? Because we talked to somebody else who was like, "No, Stephen Dorff's really nice," and I was like, "I don't know. I always have."
I don't think so.
Feel better.
Yeah, no, the only really nice person on the set was Chris Christopherson. It was probably because he was incredibly high all the time. But he's a superhero to me. So I mean, I would sit. I remember this one time. He was sitting up on the set piece, and I kind of like sat down below him on the set piece just to listen to him. Talk about, because I asked him about the writing of a couple of his songs and stuff. and I remember thinking to myself, I'm sitting here and it kind of like looked like the thinker on the rock and the lady that was draped in front of him.
Yeah. No, I would be too. I'd be like, tell me once more about me and Bobby McGee
right
now.
Exactly, right?
Right now. Did you really land a helicopter on Johnny Cash's property?
Did you really land a helicopter on the
was it Johnny Cash's property or something like that?
Oh, something like that.
I think that's a true story. He was trying to get his way in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I just think it's fast. No, that's great that Chris Christopherson was the one person who wasn't an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I know you love
No,
Stephen Norrington, and you
yeah.
still are pen
The
pals.
weird thing about that film is it was weird how assholism kind of kind of skipped from one person to the other, sort of like the Fallen. You know,
Yeah.
I, God damn it, I remember when I walked off that film though. I walked off that after the blood sequence. I was still doing stuff, but I didn't like the way anything was going, you know, and and I I just remember one day seeing somebody else get chewed out, and I thought to myself, "Oh my God, I'm so glad that wasn't me." And 2 days later, I took off and didn't come back because I thought because that bothered me. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm just I like that guy because I love the fact that he's getting chewed out because it isn't me because he was seen first, right? You know, as if you saw somebody just start chewing on them. It's weird.
I think that's what the kids call a toxic work environment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Boy, you talk it. Yeah, no, Hollywood, and
What's the worst one? What was the most toxic? Is it Blade?
oh
What's the
yeah.
worst one?
Well,
I was gonna say I thought before it was Buffy because you said you actually quit that one.
but Buffy wasn't toxic for me because I wasn't there long enough. You know,
Gotcha.
for it to be toxic. I was on Blade long enough to really hate everybody.
Oh, gotcha.
And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that by the time I went, everybody fucking hated me. You know,
It
it
was
was
that
just
kind of set.
that kind of set, you know.
What was the worst? What is the most toxic? I'm just curious.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 had the most toxic director I've ever worked with. Uh, uh,
Worse than Norrington.
well, see, here's the funny thing. Norrington, yeah, boy, that's a toss up. The thing is I actually had an opportunity to kill uh uh I can't even think of his name, the director for Nightmare on Elm
Oh, I
Street
know.
3.
And what's
Chuck
funny,
Russell.
Chuck
Chuck
Russell.
Russell, because you always remember Frank Darabont, because Frank Darabont was a writer and went on to
Right.
beat Frank Darabont, but I can never remember Chuck Russell's name. And Chuck, by the way, is now starting to do interviews and things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say I knew Chuck, of course,
he
from
got on he got on Facebook for a very short period of time. Everybody that had anything to do with him just absolutely ripped it
Oh, really?
apart. And so he got off of Facebook, but he might be doing some interviews now. I mean,
He,
we're all getting old, and most of the people who really hated him, all you know, have died. But Bruce, no, not Bruce, but Roy Wagner. I just
uh-huh,
recently worked with Roy Wagner. He was the DP on Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
uh-huh.
and he and I have been friends for years. And I just worked with him. We just sat around told fuck Chuck stories, you know.
All right. I feel like I've taken up all. Go ahead, James.
Well, no, and so I wanted to get to this. I wanted to get to Solitude because I watched Solitude, and I wanted you to know that as somebody that had childhood asthma and somebody that grew up on a large farm where I had to go out and help my father cut down trees and everything.
Right.
Thank you for bringing back every nightmare about why I don't live on that farm anymore. Because honestly, I was sitting there and one of the questions I actually wrote it down was ask Mick how much bug spray they had to use
Oh my
while making
God.
that film.
I mean,
Because that was filmed in Rush City, Minnesota, right?
right.
I did some research.
Fucking, oh my God. You know, the thing is they always kid about the mosquito being the state bird, right? And it's absolutely right. I was eaten alive out there.
I literally, as I was watching it, I didn't know where it was filmed when I was watching it because I wanted to go in cold. I wanted the experience of seeing it and discovering it. And I was sitting there watching it. And within 5 minutes, I literally, because I have sensitive skin. I grew up on a farm, which is
Right.
a bad com. I did have childhood asthma. So as soon as it was like, oh, she has an inhaler, I'm like, nope, that's not going to end well. And then I literally was sitting there and my wife looked over and she goes, what are you watching?" And because I was doing this.
Right?
I was just subconsciously itching because I'm like, she's out in the wilderness. There's got to be poison. All
Right.
the stuff I dealt with growing up in rural Kentucky,
Right.
I said, I didn't know where it was filmed, but I'm like, how is she? I would, I would have went on the show. It would have been, oh, you want to survive in the wilderness? No, no, I do not want to survive.
Nope. Nope.
I'm going to stay in the city where there's
Yeah.
food and stuff. But
And
I
not
did
to
want to.
mention, most of the time she's wearing yoga pants and a white sleeveless shirt. I mean,
Yeah,
ugh.
as I was watching it, and I enjoyed the film greatly. Matter of fact, actually, I was sitting there as the movie goes on, and how you all, whoever did the work to show her being exhausted, aging her
Yeah.
effectively,
Right.
was so well done. But I literally was watching it go, and all I could keep thinking was, no, no, I was
No.
not. Like I was actually itching because I
It
do
was.
like it
I.
was
s-
psychological, and so I knew I was like, there had to be a bug spray budget. There
It
had to
was.
be.
It was. There was, and it was. It was also incredibly hot. I mean, just burning up, and we had those tents where we had to do like the
Mm-hmm.
crossover, the stuff of the show,
Yeah.
and those white tents. Um, essentially, it was. I kept looking at it and thinking, this is easy bake oven all grown up. It was yeah, it was a challenge.
Yeah.
I just being out there kind of brought on, and we had a lot of people that worked on the show alone, which is basically what we were doing. We were the idea of the film, and Jeremy came up with the idea of the film. He said, "I want to cross over a Wendigo, cross it over with Alone, right?" And I said, "Yeah, but I think that we should make the whole area very mysterious and like make it go all the way out." And the other thing that we did, and we did it intentionally, is we tried to not we we tried to not tell you whether it was really happening.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because we couldn't decide whether it was really happening or whether it was all in her head, whether it was starvation. And here's the thing: is those people that are on those shows, they talk about. I mean, I've talked to a whole bunch of the people that are actually were on Alone because we did research with them, and it's an obsession with calories. How many calories are in this? How many calories does it take to chew? Can I eat grass? The problem with eating grass is that grass takes too many calories to chew it, to eat it, and everything has
the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, they all get very obsessed about it, and we try to bring that out in the show itself. Is you're basically it's a calorie count through the whole thing, and so we were trying to use our characters to put into her head the possibility that she could be making all this up in her head because of the other character that was in the office, Bill, right? And so we never made up our minds which way, and that's why when you get to the end of it, the scene up above and her driving away is just so interesting because it still isn't resolved.
Right.
Well, the thing, James was talking about the bug spray and all the other stuff, and I was just so excited that you're getting to direct. And when I was watching it, I'm not being facetious. When I was watching it, I was impressed because, James, Chad, and I are not filmmakers. We've made our little shitty short films, but we know the process. And I was so impressed about how much money you got on screen.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have any money.
I know that's
so.
not, I know. I
And
have
the
no
thing-
idea.
But the thing is my bit through the whole thing was, no, this has to look like an actual film. It doesn't. I don't want it to look like a
Student film. I get
like
it.
a student film,
Yeah.
and you know, like for instance, the lighting. The light. I kind of did an old fashioned lighting
Mm-hmm.
scene for it, which was kind of stolen from Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of layer that you see a layer of shadow that because you're lighting into the back of the trees, and
Mm-hmm.
then you go back another line and you light into the back of another layer of trees, and you just keep on going back, and so wherever you're doing as you're going around, you're doing like 3 layers of lights and da, 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 and you're actually lighting the night. You're not doing it the way that they do in modern films. It seems like people go out and try and film in the dark, and I can't see any of that shit. So I did really appreciate the way that looked in the end. We got and the DP was the DP said because he would start to set it up, and after a while it got to the point to where I would just point on the ground and say the camera goes here and the camera goes there, and he came up on the third. He did not like that, but he came up on the third day and he goes, "You seem to have an innate sense of where the camera should go." And I go, "Well, yeah. You mean if 40 years in the business is innate? Okay."
Well, I was about to say it's hard, and which actually, and I don't know if James and Chad have another question about this, but it's hard being, and forgive me, but I don't know another way to put it, of being the old bastard on set who's actually done every job that everyone is now doing, who is probably young, dumb, and is there just for the passion of it. God forbid no one's there making money.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to you know they have the passion, but the actual knowledge because it's a trade. It's a
The
skill.
knowledge takes a lot. Yeah, yeah, because it takes a long time to like know to you know I tell people this all the time and it blows their minds. I say your production design needs to have character arcs in it.
Yep.
And your props should have character arcs. Even your special effects should have character arcs. And that right there just kills people. They just like, wow, they just never thought of that. And I go, well, you know what? All this is a character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everything has communication value.
Right.
So
Exactly.
everything, just like the way we decorate ourselves, the way we put around whatever we wear, our outfit, it all has communication value. And you see it in real life, but when you go to do your shitty little short film, you said something to me a few years ago, and I think you may have said it on the show. You were doing a short film contest and you were one of the judges. You were one of the celebrity judges, and you said your biggest complaint was, "Oh, great, another wall that's beige."
Yeah, another beige wall.
I am sorry, the things that are stuck in my head that you've said that have
That's
taught me.
right. That's but that's always been my beef. It's like, yeah, it's you can't you just can't do that, and you're not looking at the whole frame.
Yeah.
That's what most people do is they don't, when people pick up a camera, they normally they just see what they see, right? They don't look at the whole frame. They don't see the balance of everything that's going on, and then you have to be careful because if you say the word balance, then immediately they make sure and make sure that everything is not balanced. It's just the same, right?
Hmm.
And you go, no, that's not balanced. That's that anyway. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I just find I just wanted to give you because when I was watching, I was like, man, he got a lot out of this. I have
yeah.
no,
Well,
and
thank
I'm
you.
not asking about the money. I don't want it as just I was just knowing how movies are made, what little I do. I was like, Mick got a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's I liked it a lot. I think that we had a hero flashlight in there.
Hmm.
That
The the other filming locations, so the flashback scenes were filmed in Virginia,
in
correct?
Virginia. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I appreciated the flashback scenes because I appreciate, and I don't want to give anything away from anybody that hasn't seen the movie. Go watch the movie, people. But
It's on Tubi.
yeah,
free.
the joy of the flashback scenes are because I'm obsessed with different monsters from different folklore.
Right.
I kind of knew certain elements were coming, but it was still really cool to see the scene where he taps his wife on the shoulder and the
And
little
she turns around and she's right.
yeah, and it reminded me in the best way of uh William Castle type effects, right? There's one of
Right.
my favorite scenes in House on Haunted Hill, and I know the way it's done, I know the way, but it's still the old woman reveal, right? There's
Right.
just something about that that immediately goes to my mind, and so I appreciated that so much because it does. It's one of those things that those characters become somehow more human as they become more monstrous
Exactly. Well,
because they didn't have a choice,
what I
but at the
really
same time.
exactly. Well, not only that, not only did she not have a choice, she didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, it is a fucking dark, dark little story. You know,
Well, and you're right. He even has that line, right? The last gift that we got from our daughter, my wife
we
will never know.
yeah, we had my Jeremy Jeremy is a great writer, but he writes a lot of words, and I don't like to film a lot of words. So I kept cutting his monologue down, down and down and down and down and down and down and down. And I thought that it really worked in the end. We tried to get so many different voices for him. And it was funny in the end, we wound up actually using that actor's actual voice. You know,
Hmm.
we did a lot of like, we wanted to get, like a Sam Shepard drawl
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Yep.
and the thing is you would think that would work, and then we would put it in, and it would seem stupid. You know, we finally we kind of wrote it a little bit straight,
Hmm.
but a little bit of like that. Uh, what we would imagine was the cowboy lilt.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like I said, I found that I could have watched a movie of just that, of that decline. But I think the same way that as you say at the end, the is it not is almost that much more terrifying because if what is there is not there, then she's returning to society.
Right. Exactly. Right.
And it becomes one of those
It
things of
it
which
doesn't
monster.
resolve anything. That's the
Yeah,
great thing about it. Is
yeah.
it doesn't and the thing is he brought that script to me, and we're best friends. He really is one of my best friends, and he kept bringing scripts to me that were super dark, and everybody died in the end. And I was like, yeah, I I just can't get behind that. I somehow or other I want her to walk out of this. I don't care if she's completely damaged, if we don't know why or we don't know how. I mean, I think that actually makes it better in the end, but she's got to walk out of there, even if nobody else does.
Well, I think the other thing that that struck me, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but there's that great moment when it looks like she's almost accepted that she's done,
Right.
and
Right.
then
Exactly.
she has her comeback where it's like no, and it's because of her daughter, right?
It's because of her daughter. It's because that is the woman that lost her daughter right
Yeah,
there. Right.
and I think that becomes really, I mean, I that resonated with me because I've told this to people before. I used to, I mean, I'm still not exactly known for fighting just to fight, but man, you have kids, it changes the way you view
It does.
things,
It does.
and so literally, I was able to put myself in that moment. I had several years ago, and Joe was involved in this. There was somebody that had at our workplace that had said, "Oh, we're gonna put you on this performance improvement plan," and I hadn't done anything
Oh yeah,
really
no, I
wrong.
remember. I
And my
had no
daughter
idea
had
where he was going with this, Mick.
and my
Sorry.
daughter had just been my daughter was probably about 6 months old, and I can remember I went back and I was like, whatever. yeah, I'll just get through it. No big deal. And my direct supervisor had told me, you can appeal that and fight this. And I'm like, I don't want to. It's stupid to fight it. Whatever. I'll just get through it. And I went back and I saw my daughter.
Yeah.
And I picked up the phone and went, yeah, I want to appeal that. And
Yeah,
we
that's
we by the way, Joe and I won that argument.
Actually, I didn't even.
Well,
This
see,
is a,
and
go
the
ahead.
difference between you and me is that I'd fight anything just for the sake of it.
Well, I literally, it's one of those things that my wife has often said I'm cursed because if I go through a drive-through, I'm not getting anything I order. And my kids have even picked up on it. It's like, don't let dad doesn't, if we go with dad, we have to go inside the restaurant so we can actually get our food.
Right, exactly.
And it becomes one of those things that do I fight every battle or do I just fight the big ones? And so I've given up. Like now, it's like, no, it's a burger's a burger. It's fine. I'll make
He
it.
won that one for.
I'm with you.
I'm more like Mick, though. Well, I don't know if Mick and I are more, but to cap in that story, he fought the battle, and then as he's leaving the meeting, he reaches me the
I
manila
had
envelope with
uh,
everything in it.
I had
I didn't
120
even
pages of printed documents where I was able to
I
prove
didn't
I did
even
everything I
bother
was
to
told to
open it
do.
up. I just walked down and threw it down, and then it was like, "Yeah, don't worry, we're raising the thing."
Yep,
It
yeah.
was, I didn't even bother. I just threw it
Right,
down. I didn't even
exactly.
talk.
Right.
So
So
yeah.
I feel like Chad, we've had him on here an hour and a half, and I don't feel like you got to ask anything that you wanted to ask. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I've
Put
been
you on the
asking
spot.
plenty. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Just glad we get to talk to Mick. That's it.
So I've
Hey,
had you.
hey, by the way,
Yeah.
I have to bring this up. You guys, you guys' podcast is the joy of my life, and I love every time I see that one comes up that doesn't have a guest on it. And I know I'm an awful person
No.
for doing that, but I just want to hear you goofballs hang with each other.
Well,
that
Hey, did you enjoy? So the hardest thing we've ever with one of
yeah,
the
it was the movie thing, right?
it was God damn that was hard, Mick. I don't think any and I got them it Chad just threw it down and said, "We've been doing this for six." He didn't say it this way, but when I tell the story, this is how it's going to be. We've been doing this for 700 episodes, and we keep getting this question. We should probably put together some sort of list. I'm not joking. It was miserable.
It's
But I had the most fun doing it. But it's one. I don't. It's hard. You know what I mean? It's like
no,
yeah.
I know and I have
Jesus, it was tough.
you
But
know what
I
though
got
is
through. I felt
but
like I got
somebody
through a
came up
cathartic experience. When it was,
somebody came up with mine.
which one was
Young
it?
Frankenstein. Yeah.
That was Chad because,
Yeah.
and then we talked about you on the show. It was like, yeah, I said Blazing, and then Mick Strawn called me the next day.
Right, exactly.
But it wasn't this, but it was years ago. He was like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
dare you not
Yeah.
say Young Frankenstein is the best Mel Brooks movie, you stupid son of a.
I did. I did. I went for your throat. I really did. I remember that.
But he went, and I swear to God, you're the only human beings ever called me up and goes, would you please just stop getting guests? But Mick, I enjoy having guests, and sometimes it helps our numbers. I don't care.
Yes, I don't care. I
don't want to hear any guests.
So I'm going to go with there's only 3 films that I actually go back to all the time.
Okay.
And one of them is Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
It's good.
That's awesome.
Galaxy Quest and Fifth Element and Young Frankenstein.
Fifth Element. Why the Fifth Element? I did not know that. I'm shocked.
I love the Fifth Element.
I do too. I love it.
To me,
Multipath.
It's such an unusual. I mean, the thing is, Luc Besson went on to make Valerian, right?
Yeah,
Valerian.
yeah.
Valerian and Valerian. Valerian was much slicker, but there was no chemistry between the two lead characters, and that just ruined that. But that the connection between the characters in Fifth Element is astounding. Yeah, her saying multipass, literally, pushing up against him was just amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Chad and James both love, especially Chad loves that movie, and I've always had it's okay, kind of a thing.
Really? Because
I
just
know. I am.
how is that possible?
I just want to watch the scenes of Gary Oldman
I have a
as
dear
the
friend.
villain doing that Southern accent that makes no sense,
Yeah,
but
it
it
makes no
works.
sense, but it's
But it
perfect.
works so well for me.
I,
I don't know why.
I
And
have a
I always tell the story about working with him on
Yeah,
Sid and Nancy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's he. We did all the bar scenes. The interior of all the bar scenes was in one abandoned super mega bar in downtown LA, and
Hmm.
it had. I think it had 14 bars when it was open, right? And it had closed down. We went in and we used the different ones to make the different bars as they're coming across America. And we also did the this French. There was a French TV show that he was up on the stairs and he comes down the stairs and he's singing "My Way."
Hmm.
Right.
I did it my way.
Hmm.
And I swear to God, I got to watch him doing that, coming down that staircase, and he's just coming down. He's just sweating, and you're just your heart is in your throat because you're thinking he's gonna fall off that fucking staircase, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I did. And he gets to the bottom, and the director goes, cut. Alex goes, cut. And he goes, and all of a sudden he goes, so what did you guys think of that? How did that look? You know, and I swear everybody's head snapped back like we had been in a car accident, right? You're the yeah, no, yeah, we should take another one, but that was pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
God damn, that guy was so good.
Is he one of the most talented actors you think you've ever witnessed work? Who else?
Robert England is not to be dismissed. He's pretty amazing himself. But
Right.
yeah, probably I would say that's one of the better performances I've seen in my life. Yeah.
That you were just sitting there going, man,
That was just yeah,
because there's so many performances that are cut together, right?
yeah.
It's
You know, there were an awful lot. And the odd thing though is this is that was a performance where I happened to be in the right place, right?
hmm.
I mean, that there have been a lot of great performances on my sets and stuff. It's just that a lot of times I was working on the next set
Yeah.
that they were going to be moving on to, which has kind of been my life, you know. I'm truly the background guy, you know.
I don't know. Well, I
By the
kept
way,
you. Go ahead.
Gary Oldman just mentioned. I would just want to say that Slow Horses, or as I call it, the Gary Oldman Show. Thank you. Just if he's on screen on that show, I'm like, no, tell me more about how everything's terrible and we're all
Right.
terrible people.
He's just,
I
well,
love that he's perfect in that.
have you seen all the background interviews that he's done?
No, I
Oh,
need to
they're
go back and catch
fucking
them
hilarious.
Some of
because
them are.
because
Yes.
he is on that show. Like I can remember, maybe it's the end of the first season where he has that scene, and everybody, that I know that watched that show thought he was going to finally have a heartfelt scene where he
Right.
does where he's like, no, you're my team, you'll make it,
Right.
and he just has that scene. And was like, no, you're probably all going to die, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to, so well, I'm okay with it. It's not that, but it's very close to
I've
that.
I sort of got the first time I saw that show, I described to another friend of mine, I said, the thing is you have to see this because Gary Oldman is embodying the essence of a fart.
He is joyfully miserable, and
He
I like
really is.
I
He is as unapologetically miserable as you can get.
and justifiably so. The more the show goes on, I'm like, no, he's absolutely right to be
Absolutely.
miserable.
He's
And
right. This is a horrible place with
yes,
horrible people.
and he is perfectly happy being the
Right.
most horrible of all the horrible people.
Exactly. And he's worse than all of them, right? Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
I
yeah,
got you.
no, it is yeah. And you mentioned Fifth Element. It made me think. I have a dear friend over several different years, And his favorite response to any question comes from Fifth Element, and most people never caught it. I was one of the few people when he first said it around me. I'm like, "Did you quote Fifth Element?" And it was he would respond to anything with negative, "I'm a meat popsicle." And I literally saw him once get pulled over by the police and actually said that line to a police officer. And the police officer went, "What?" And he goes, "It's a movie line. Here's my life."
Here you go.
And I was like, "Dude, you're gonna get tased. You're gonna
Yeah, you're
get."
gonna
So anyway,
get
sorry.
tased someday, right?
Y'all talking about Fifth Element just brought that memory back of like, dude, I don't want to see you get tased.
So
okay. Hasn't this been long enough?
Yeah.
I was. You never told us when your heart out was, and I've been for the last. You and James have been going back
Gotcha.
and forth for
Oh
the last
no, I
10
don't.
minutes.
You know me, I
But,
never have a heart out.
but you've been an hour and a half in the car. I really, before I wanted to go, I just wanted to tell you I loved you.
Hey, you guys are some of my favorite
No,
people in
we
the world.
love
You
you.
really are. You really are. I was going to just mention another film. I have one coming out called Pig Hill.
I was going to ask when that's coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming out. I think it's
That's
coming
with
out.
RA, correct?
Yes, with RA, it's coming out a little later in the year. It is a disturbing fucking film, and it is a piece of art. It is it's going to grip you right around the balls. It really
Now,
is.
is that the one you wanted Jeff to direct, and you had to
That's
step
the
in?
one that Jeff was going to direct, but he wasn't feeling well,
Mhm.
and then he didn't even make it to the end of the filming. So
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But I know you stepped, but I know we're excited about it now.
Yeah, it has Rainey Qualley proving once
Rain,
again. Sorry, did I say it wrong?
no, you said it right.
Yeah, proving that Andy McDowell really has good genes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So what I wanted to ask you before we went, one, is there anything other than Pig Hill coming? Do you have any other projects?
Yes, I have Ragaroo coming. I'm going to be production designing a Louisiana werewolf film.
Mhm.
And it's just an incredible script by Eric Mathis, who's got Infernal out right now. And Nick Benson
Mhm.
is going to be is working to put together a film called Phobia,
Mhm.
which is kind of a combination vampire zombie kind of thing. It's very, very disturbing. And we're probably looking at March to start filming on that.
Okay.
And I'm just going to be assisting him. He's going to be the director, and I'm just going to stand back and make bad suggestions.
And lastly, when in the hell are you going to start doing conventions again?
You know what? I was hoping to get to FrankenCon.
Mhm.
I've been trying to get a hold of Corey and Henry, and
I just met him this 2 weekends ago. I'd never met him before.
well, I'm going to get a hold of them, and that's kind of like a small home away from home for me. I really like that. It really bugged me that I couldn't go out there this year.
Yeah.
This year has just been me catching my breath again. You know.
Right.
Absolutely, literally and figuratively. So
yeah, in every way you can imagine.
So before we go, just one last time. You all don't know this if you've been a long time listener to this show, and I've told this story many times. There was I finally Robert England several years ago finally got we were trying to get everybody on this huge nightmare panel, and everybody's agents out arguing, and we're trying to how they go in and whatnot, and I'm having to kill time, and I'm going out, and Robert starts talking to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting my moment right now. And then this wild, crazy haired bastard comes up and just takes Robert away from me in middle of him telling a story to me to get him to do something or sign a glove. And I'm so pissy. And then I don't think the second part of the story I really tell. I just kind of end it there is you're getting a glove signed for a special needs person. I don't know if you remember doing that.
I do. That was something that I did all the time
I know.
with Robert around because I kind of look for somebody that can't deal with the hustle and all the rest of that.
And I just wanted to tell that because I
Ah.
always tell that story about you being an asshole, and then we become friends, and then you were on the show, and then we hit it off, and then we're all friends now. But that's the kind of guy you are. You're a solid dude.
I am a reformed asshole.
I wouldn't use the word reformed. What I would say, and it's from a 90s film, and I quote it all the time because I quote it about myself, that George Clooney says at the end of From Dusk Till Dawn, Kate, I'm an asshole. I'm not a fucking asshole.
That's pretty damn close.
I say that about me. I would say that about you, Mick.
You guys know that I love you, and just stop taking guests other than me.
We haven't had any in a while. So you and Todd Farmer. Oh, and a real shout out. Thank you so much for doing my 10th anniversary video. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right.
Anytime. Oh, okay, guys.
It's been Bonehead Weekly.
Bye, Mick.
I'm disappearing. Bye.
Bye.
Ah.